Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Blue Jays Today. We're your boys. We always got something to say about the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm your host, Adam Peddle.
And I'm your host, Nicholas Playlog. And today, everybody, we're going to be looking at 5 game-changing free agents that we think the Toronto Blue Jays should go after and that they actually have a chance of acquiring. Spoiler alert, there's no Juan Soto on this list. There's no Corbin Burns on this list. Obviously, those guys would be classified in the game-changing free agent type of tier, but we're trying to be realistic right now. They did come out recently, Ross and Mark, and talk just a little bit about the budget, and effectively it's going to be kind of more of the same. You know, we're going to be doing the same thing, same type of budget. And with all of that being considered, these are 5 players that we think would make an impact and they could actually go out and target. Let us know your thoughts down below about who you think the Toronto Blue Jays should really attack this free agency. What do we need? Please hit the like, smash the subscribe button. Let's get in to player number 1. I was talking about this guy quite a bit at the trade deadline. Not as somebody that the Toronto Blue Jays should go out and trade for, obviously.
Not. No.
But I was just saying that it's like, this is arguably the best tradable starter at that past trade deadline, and I think that did come to fruition. But Jack Flaherty, he's solid.
Yeah, he is very, very solid. What I like most about Jack Flaherty is that he has that promise, that pedigree when he was younger, like, oh, this guy could be somebody. And obviously he went through a lot of rough stretches over with the Cardinals, but he ended up finding his way, especially this year with the Tigers and now with the LA Dodgers. He's 28 years old as of recording this video. He will actually be 29 very shortly. And so entering age 29 year into free agency is definitely a lot promising when you're looking for a starting pitcher to give you some longevity. You know, when you think about Jose Barrios, when we got him, he was around a little bit younger than Jack Flaherty, and you could see really now how that longevity is coming through with Jose Barrios. Similar to Jack Flaherty, he had a 3.17 ERA and a whip of 1.068. And if we're looking at the Toronto Blue Jays rotation, you might think, well, we don't necessarily need to go out and get a starting pitcher. However, you got to think about extending that winning window just a little bit. You look at the rotation right now, you got Chris Bassett on his last year of his deal. You got Kevin Gausman with 2 years left, and they're getting a little bit older, and the numbers were regressing just a little bit this year. So if you're trying to create some sort of longevity in that rotation, going out and getting a Jack Flaherty is very, very important, especially when you look at the depth of this Toronto Blue Jays team. Yeah. There's not much there. So he, for me, is a must pursue.
100%, dude. I think that this would be a different conversation if Ricky Tiedemann hadn't had what happened to him, Tommy John, and like he's going to be out for, you know, God only knows how long, assuredly next year and potentially even into 2026, right? If he was still healthy and ready to go, I don't think we'd even be having this conversation, because then you're looking at another one of those rotational spots that he is going to own. But that's not the case, right? And now you're starting to think about, okay, well, when he does come back, what is the rotation going to look like? Are we still going to have Chris Bassett? Probably not. No. Is, you know, Kevin Gausman still going to be performing at a high level? I don't know. Jack Flaherty being 29 years old is one of those ways to give you lots of longevity. Now, he is going to cost a decent chunk of change, and you're going to see that that's a bit of a theme with some of the guys that we're looking at here. And I do want to be very clear as well. These are 5 guys that we hope that the Toronto Blue Jays will target. We don't think that they're going to sign all of them. No. It would be a crazy offseason if they were to get every single one of these guys. If you could end up with, you know, 1, 2... Fuck, if we got 3, I mean, this is a massive W. But Jack Flaherty would certainly be somebody that I'd be targeting for that rotation if he's going to cost around $20 million a year.
Yeah, SpotRack usually projects the lower end of how much he would be worth, but they don't really take in consideration the market value. I mean, Jack Flaherty is going to be one of the most sought-after pitchers, other than Corbin Burns or Max Fried this offseason. So Jack Flaherty is going to definitely probably get a little bit more. I could probably see that going up to $25 million. Right. And to put it in perspective, we have about $50, maybe $60 million for the Blue Jays to spend this offseason, so he will cost a large part of that budget, but I think it'll be money well spent.
Yeah, 100%. Like, if you could get him on kind of like a Chris Bassett level deal, I think you would be laughing if you're the Toronto Blue Jays. Moving on, everybody, let's talk about somebody that I think both of us are starting to seriously fall in love with, and like this is a problem. Everyone, like, don't get enamored with free agents. Don't get enamored with trade pieces or draft picks, because you're just setting yourself up for failure. And we are setting ourselves up for failure right now when we're talking about Willy Adames. This is somebody that I think fits the Toronto Blue Jays beautifully right now, with all the uncertainty going on around Bo Bichette. Hell, even if you still have Bo Bichette, this is somebody that would be really, really good. Production across the board for Willy Adames, 29 years old. This is somebody that I want to be in a Toronto Blue Jays uniform.
Absolutely. You know, when we talk about power on this channel, it's something that we desperately need. Even
That's a fucking dangerous word, Adam.
It's a dangerous word, yeah. Apparently in the postseason, power doesn't win you games. We've literally been seeing this entire postseason, how power is so important, especially against good starting pitching.
That's sarcasm, by the way, everybody. We are making fun of Ross and Mark and all those guys who apparently, again, it's just ridiculous that they think power is a dangerous thing.
Stupid.
Anyways, Willy Adames is a dangerous hitter.
Yes, he is a very dangerous hitter. 32 home runs, and it's crazy for a guy who never used to be this like powerful hitter, goes over to Milwaukee and just blossoms into an amazing major league player. But of course, you're going to also have a lot of, you're going to have to spend a lot of money to get Willy Adames. He's projected at $25 million. That's actually a lot more than I thought, but I actually could believe it at age 29. So he will cost you a decent chunk of change. But going back to the Bo Bichette comments you made earlier, I actually like this a lot because when you're thinking about, you know, kind of creating that bridge between Bo Bichette and Arjun Nimala, if Arjun Nimala is going to be that guy, there is a decent window of about 2 to 3 to 4 years before Arjun Nimala comes up and makes an actual impact at the big league level. So for me, if you're not going to bring back Bo Bichette, which it looks like he won't, you need to have that filler gap, impact guy, and I think Willy Adames would be the perfect guy.
Yeah, I think that part of what they're factoring in there in that market value is the fact that, one, the defense is really solid with Willy Adames, and that, two, like there isn't a whole lot of anyone else in the free agent shortstop market.
Yeah.
Whereas you look at somebody like a Jack Flaherty, and you're right. I mean, like there is other options, right? Like you could argue that he might be the third or fourth best pitcher on the market with, you know, Max Fried and Corbin Burns and various other people available, right? So Willy Adames is going to own that shortstop market, and the fall off after that is major. However, if you believe in the talent, which we do, that's somebody that I think the Toronto Blue Jays should 100% target.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's move on, guys, to the next one. And as we know, the Blue Jays desperately need a lot of bullpen help. I mean, yeah, we're talking about starting pitching, which we don't really need. Yes, we ideally would love another bat, but this one we desperately need. Now, you could go and find a million relievers out there. There's so many good ones, but I think if you must pursue one, you've got to pursue the best, and that is Tanner Scott.
Well, these are game changers, remember.
These are game changers.
You know, we're talking about game-changing guys. Like, if somebody's going to come in and change the game for you, it's somebody with a 1.75 ERA and a 4 WAR out of the fucking bull. That's impressive to me, man.
Yeah, 72 innings. He's a workhorse over there. He started with Miami, and now he's over there with the Padres in the NLDS, excuse me. And yeah, 30 years old. So if you want to talk about a guy that still's got a lot of years left in him, it's Tanner Scott, someone who I'd be comfortable shipping over $3 to $4 million. And it's not just 1 year he's done well. He did it last year in 2020. 2.31 ERA. It looks like he's really starting to figure it out after, you know, trying to find his way in the MLB with Baltimore and Miami. He's really figuring it out. So for me, Tanner Scott's a guy that I definitely got to pursue. Now, Spot Rack, of course, has him in the $16.4 million range. I think that's going to go up a lot because he will be the coveted guy.
One of them
in this free agent market. I could see $20 million being the price that he gets per year. Now, is that a little bit too much for a guy that, yes, is game-changing, Nick?
I mean, okay, if it gets to $20 million, I do think that, yeah, you're starting to get into that. Like, I don't know if I can go there. I don't know if he's going to get quite that much. I don't think that we're going to see a Josh Hader level deal or anything like that. Don't get me wrong, like, he is very, very good, but Josh Hader, had seasons upon seasons upon seasons of being like the best guy in league and, to warrant that type of stuff. I think that if you're the Toronto Blue Jays, you're looking at Jordan Romano, and you're looking at the fact that he gets paid, or should be getting paid, roughly a little bit over $10 million. We've already talked about how they might not want to do that due to health reasons or just uncertainty about what it is that he's going to do next year. So if you're the Jays, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, we might not have Jordan Romano, maybe let him go and then take that $11 million that you're saving from not signing him and then reinvest it into Tanner Scott. Yes, you're going to have to tack on an additional 5, 6, 7 or anything like that, but I do think that it's worth it for somebody that you know what you're going to get out of Tanner Scott. And it's very rare to say that you know what you're going to get out of a bullpen guy, and maybe I'm going to be eating my own words in 6 months or 8 months from now, and he's going to come out and suck.
That's
but
the thing.
I do believe in Tanner Scott.
There is a bit of risk when it comes to signing one bullpen guy for that much amount of money. You could realistically get 2 bullpen guys, and I'm sure we could probably make an entire other podcast talking about all the bullpen guys, but there's another strategy with it where you could just take what would be Tanner Scott, divide that money in half, and sign 2 very solid guys in their own right, and then hope that they both pan out.
Well, and I think for me, I think we can both agree, dude. I mean, that is an additional thing that you should be doing, right? It's like this is somebody that it's a game changer that you need to pursue if you're the Toronto Blue Jays. That's going to come in and immediately own that closing role. But that doesn't mean that the work is done in the bullpen. There's still going to be a lot more spots to fill. This would be a massive boost to that, and it would just help you structure everything out. Because if you bring in Tanner Scott, everybody that you have in that pen, they move down a roll.
Right.
Everyone
absolutely.
moves down, right? So this is the first of what I would hope to be many moves in the bullpen,
I would hope so. He can kind of spearhead the back end of that bullpen. Let's move on, guys, to number 4 on this list. Another different position player, an outfielder this time, because we look at the Blue Jays outfield. You've got Loper Fido, Davis Schneider. What's going on there? Jonathan Clase going on in the outfield. We don't really know. We don't have a solid guy to compliment George Springer and Dalton Varsho. I laugh because that's not really complimenting them. But we need to go find somebody who can actually be a good bat in the lineup that can go play some everyday outfield. And one guy that the Blue Jays, and I think out of all these guys, might be the most realistic that they sign, because he's Canadian, is Tyler O'Neill. Tyler O'Neill, he was over at the St. Louis Cardinals in the beginning of his career, got traded to the Boston Red Sox, and he put up a very solid year. Granted, he was injured for a decent chunk of it, only 411 at-bats, but you could see the power that came through in just that short amount of time. 31 home runs, hit an OPS plus of 132. That would have been, I believe, second on the Toronto Blue Jays under Vladimir Guerrero Jr. This guy is that power bat. He's also a right-hander, so yes, we don't really have that lefty problem anymore, so you can feel good putting him in that lineup in the middle and the upper parts. Tyler O'Neill feels like a good guy to complement the rest of his team, and again, at a good age of 29 years old. I feel very confident about bringing Tyler O'Neill and that contract being good and aging well.
Well, I think he's not going to be as much of a sure thing as an Anthony Santander or a Teoscar Hernandez is, and we have left those guys off of this list. Just probably because of a monetary reasons, and I do think that even though I would love Anthony Santander, it's going to be a long shot for sure. O'Neill feels more realistic for the Toronto Blue Jays. This is somebody who's coming off of one of his better seasons in a while in MLB, and you'd be kind of buying in to that. You're hoping that, coming into his age 30 season, this, power is going to continue. This is somebody that we can put behind Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who's going to be in situations where there's runners on, and you're going to feel good about it. Is it a risk when you look at some of these other seasons here? I mean, in 2023, 72 games played. So we're dealing with injuries, and we have a relatively low batting average and a low slugging and a relatively low OPS. Yeah, it is a risk, but that will be all factored in to the contract, like Adam was saying. Spotrac has him at a market value of roughly $16 million a year. Yeah. They're saying that he'll get a 3-year deal. That sounds about right. I could see anywhere from a 2 to 3 to 4 year deal, something in that range. And I think for anywhere in that $15 to $16 million, you're looking at a high upside play where it's not going to necessarily fully sink you if he isn't good.
Yeah, exactly. And I do want to toss in a note. This is what we think the Blue Jays should go and pursue. Of course, you do have the front office. I hate to bring them up again, but they do not like players like Tyler O'Neill. They just don't. They don't like guys who have low batting averages of 241, even though they somehow like Dalton Varsho, I guess because of the defense. And they say that power is dangerous and that he's got to make more contact in the postseason, which is just not true. Power is what wins you in the postseason. But again, I just want to make that clear. It's what we would want, not necessarily what the front office thinks that they need.
Well, and we'll see, right? Because we have seen them, like you said, Dalton Varsho is one of those guys. Matt Chapman, kind of that low batting average. High power guy.
They had the glove.
Also the glove.
They had the glove where Tyler O'Neill doesn't really scream defense, right? I mean, he has a outs above average of -4, so that's the one thing. So again, this is the Ross Atkins front office, not the Adam and Nick front office.
Yeah. You know, now I will, to his credit, 2 Gold Gloves in his history, but yeah, last year I don't know what happened to him last year. He was a rough year. When you go back in time, like he just gets better and better and better defensively speaking. Like he was actually really good a couple years ago, and then kind of fell off the table. So hopefully that's something that changes. Either way, though, this is still somebody that we would like to have in the lineup. Last player that we want to bring up here that we think could really change the game for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Time for a quick shout out to Betway. Betway is the best place to make all of your sports bets on all of your favorite teams. Betway is in collaboration with iGaming Ontario, so you must be 19 years or older to participate. You can also scan the QR code to make your account today. And guys, please bet responsibly. Now, back to the content.
Somebody that I think realistically you could see them go after, similarly to Tyler O'Neill, is Christian Walker. Now, Christian Walker is a first baseman, so, you know, that's obviously going to cause a little bit of problems because you got Vladimir Guerrero Jr. over there, but fuck it. Figure it out. This is somebody who's had 3 years in a row with an OPS over 800. He's won several Gold Gloves in that period of time. He was really good at defensively speaking this year as well. So all of these things are boxes that are being checked for the Toronto Blue Jays, right? This is the type of player that they like. They were also talking, or excuse me, some of the players were talking about, I believe it was Kevin Gausman or Chris Batt. One of those two guys was talking about how they want to bring in more veterans. Christian Walker is a veteran. He's been around the block. He's 33 years old right now. He will be turning 34. Is that cause for concern? A little bit. Yeah. It is a little bit, and I would say that that's the one knock on Christian Walker. But when you're looking at the past 3 years in a row, there's been no sign at all of falling off. So if you could get somebody like a Christian Walker on a 2-year, 3-year, starting to push it a little bit for me, but I could understand why he'd want a 3-year. But if you could get him on like a high average annual value, 2-year type of deal, bring him in. You know, you figure it out with him and Guerrero. Either one of them's the DH, one of them's the first baseman, or fuck it, move Vladdy to third base. I don't care. Figure it out type thing, because this is somebody who'd help us out a lot in the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, look, like Christian Walker's a great guy. I mean, he's not on this list, but because it's a little bit harder to get him. But Pete Alonso, same kind of idea, where you're bringing in a power first baseman. You can figure it out. That DH spot isn't owned by anybody, so you could split time over there at first base. Christian Walker is definitely a lot better defensively than Vladimir Guerrero Jr. So this actually fits the bill of Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro's team a lot better, you know. And again, this is a guy who's later in his career, so it's going to be a lesser term contract, and this window right now is a lot lesser than it was before, so they might be more inclined to getting a shorter term guy with less commitment onto this team. So I like what I'm seeing from Christian Walker a lot. I like the veteranness. I like the experience. I like the experience in the World Series. Bring more of those guys on the team to help these Blue Jays get back to the
like it kind of does feel, or like it feels like Christian Walker fits the mold of that Brandon Belt type, that Justin Turner type that we've seen them go after time and time again, right? Like we continuously bring in kind of these old veterans who can still hit, you know, but will provide some of that veteran presence into the locker room. Christian Walker feels like the dude. Let us know in the comments down below. What do you think about this list of 5 game-changing free agents that we think the Toronto Blue Jays could realistically target? I know we left some key names off of here in Santander and Hernandez and Alonso and, you know, some of those other guys for sure. We were trying to keep this thing as realistic as possible, but let us know in the comments down below. Are these players that you think the Blue Jays should target? And do you think they actually will? Because sometimes those two things do not align.
No, they do not, guys. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to Blue Jays Today, and $3 a month to become a Patreon member. Shout out and thank you to all of our current Patreon members and to our YouTube members as well. You guys are absolutely awesome.
Thank you so much for watching, everybody. And as always, go Jays, go!